Good evening, everybody. It's been a minute since I've come through. There was a bit of a long break to heal, and now we're back. And tonight we have the ever, uh, um, I would say, a maverick in his own right, Fanie Ndlovu. And we're going to have a conversation about what he's doing at Varsity Genie. And you probably have seen it somewhere, somehow, and seen some of the work that he does, but you don't know that that's his work. So what we're going to do is have a conversation with him. And good evening, everybody. And we've missed having these sessions, and I've also missed having these sessions. And everybody that asked me, like, why are you not here? I just needed that time to heal. But now that we are here, Fanie, good evening, and thank you very much for making this time to come through for Tech Tuesday.
Good evening. So anything that is tech, anything just to empower people, that's my space.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So happy.
You're talking about you everything tech, but who is Fanie Ndlovu? Fanie Tech Ndlovu.
Okay. Yeah, it's a guy, simple guy from a township called Kwakwa. It's a town, Kwakwa from Free State. So I'm just a simple township classy boy, but with big dreams and with a social heart of trying to make the rural areas and especially township better. So that's my space. Fanie Ndlovu is that social entrepreneur with passion to uplift, especially in township and rural areas, to uplift them to have skills that will make sure that as we live in a global economy, just at least they can participate in that space. So yeah, that's Fanie Ndlovu.
Okay. I hear that you're from Kwakwa, and I know that there used to be a university there, but I think it's defunct now, if I'm not wrong. And so how did you get into the tech space? How were you exposed? At what age were you exposed to tech? And when did you decide, this is my path, this is who I am?
Yes. So, okay, funny story. When I was doing my grade 10, which is when I have to choose the subject, I go the commerce stream or I go the science stream. So I end up going they chose for me. I wanted the science, but then the science route, but then they chose the commerce route. And then it was fine. I studied accounting, economics, and business study and mathematics, pure mathematics. So IT, it was not even my thing until even grade 12. I didn't know what IT is. I didn't know what computer science is. All I wanted was at least to become an accountant, or that one thing that I was put at the top of my list was to become an economist, because I love economics so much. Then what happened is back when I was doing my trick, then there was this career phase. You can see that most of the things that I do again, I integrate with metric learners. I try to expose as much as possible to different careers because it shaped my life. Then there was a program that was happening. Then I went to a career fair, that program career fair. Then there was one speaker who was so passionate about IT. And I remember it was a person from a Jeep college. And then he was so passionate about IT, showing the possibility of saying that if someone is involved in an accident, you can just take IT anywhere in the world. You just take his ID, capture into a computer, and then you can get the records where this person comes from, who is it, does he have kids. So, like that thing, just an ID, would you be able to pull information about such a person? So I got fascinated, to say, like, okay, next year I'm going to do IT. But then the way I even did, even what cemented it, I came back to Durban because again, not came back. During that year, while I was doing my matric, then there was a trip to Durban, and then being in Durban, and we came to this university to see the environment here, and then I came to this university. It was a matric trip. I came, then I saw the environment of university, and it blown my mind to say, like, you know what? I want to see myself at duty by fire by force. I just want to see myself here. And then saw the spirit of like, and I saw that they have IT. So when I was applying, I I selected IT as a first choice at DUT.
Mm-hmm.
So then that part, those two events, going to a career fair and going with matric, trip coming to Durban, it changed my whole career because now I decided to say, like, I saw this beautiful university. I just want to see myself in this environment doing IT. So that's how I moved. And IT just did mathematics. And my mathematics, I was passing. I used the two subjects that I love was mathematics and was economics.
Mm-hmm.
So then through my mathematics and then at least I was able to be accepted. And then yeah, that's how I got exposed to IT.
Oh, okay.
Ye-
It's actually quite interesting because I did the inverse of what you did. I did
Yes.
science subjects and then did commerce in in varsity. So it was the inverse of our journeys.
Hmm.
And funny enough, in matric, I did do computer science. And
Oh.
came back to it later on, but yeah, it's just the inverse of our journeys. But that
Hmm.
being said, you've mentioned your love for economics. Has it
Yes.
you described yourself as a social entrepreneur,
Hmm.
and has it actually played a role in you
Hmm.
becoming a social entrepreneur,
Hmm.
and following this route before we get into what is Varsity Genie?
Hmm. Yes, 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 definitely. Like I can say maybe I have more advantage compared to a person who did science because now, if in IT, because everything now it's digital, everything that we disconnected to digital, and then you check it, some of the richest company in the world, the richest people in the world, where they come from. They come from the computer science and the business they built from the computer science. So through that, and now it makes sense to say, wow, in this modern economy, the biggest company is not the oil, it's not the engineering, is the tech companies. And then through that, and it makes sense to me to say, like, oh, what I was studying, demand and supply, and even now, because there's some project that I do, they make sense to me to say, like, how they positively contribute to the economy. Even the skills that we are doing, I'm doing towards to say, like, okay, you are learning, but after you are learning, you are not safe for the sake of learning. You are learning to be productive into the economy. Our economy is so connected in a way that if I learn here, I should not only learn or aim. We will hear along the way that the people that have trained, they know that I prepare them to compete at a global standard because I understand the importance of participating in a global economy. So that love, the passion for economy, and I see it daily living it in through tech. Because now, as I say, tech is living in terms of, if you check it, the richest people in the world, they come from tech, and the biggest company where that they're most valuable is those from tech. So that knowledge from economic, the commerce connected with IT, then it even makes things more fascinating for me.
Mm. Oh, okay. We're gonna come back to this, but I want you to put and explain what is Varsity Genie,
Okay.
and what drove you to founding this. I would say this marvelous idea, and yeah,
Hmm.
this game changer.
Okay, so I'll start with our mission. Our mission is like to empower individuals and organization to better well communities. So it's about taking organization and individual and focus to say like, how do we go back to our communities and better? Because now once you start to empower the communities, because every one of us come from a community, and then communities they play a very vital role into shaping you to be a better person. So then now my mind is always about sometimes we learn, and then after learning, then we go back to the metros. We're not even focusing back to our community. We go and empower the metros, your Cape Town, your all these metros. Then that's where we participate. We forget to go back to our communities and start to participate and uplift. So then that mission is set in my mind to say, how do you take a corporate into township, into rural area? How do you take a student to go into the rural area? So then that mission inspired me to say, okay, this is Varsity Genie mission, and every program that we do, it's about empowering communities to be better. So Varsity Genie just exists to get individuals, get organizations to go to the townships, to go back to the communities and uplift those communities. And then, but one mostly element that we focus, we use the youth energy. Youth are very, very people who always have the energy. And then through Varsity Genie, while they go back those skills, while you go there, we want you to develop the leadership skills. That's the most important thing. Like you go back to your community while you develop your leadership skills and while you are becoming more employable. So two things. Let's go back to the township. When you go to the township, you are not just going for the sake of giving. It's a better of you uplifting yourself, your leadership skills and uplift your CV because that's have been there are a lot of students. There's one student who was here. He came back to say like, "Hey, I got a job in the US, but they need a reference." Then, hello.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry. Another call tried to come in.
Yes, yes, yes. So then, because they were giving back, they were doing project with me. Then I was easily drafting a reference letter to say, no, this person is involved with kids with disability, and that letter is just show how important it played that activity going back to these problems that we have. Because cities, big cities don't have problems, but those the township and rural, that's where problems are, and it's a very big opportunity for even corporate, just to conscientize them to say like MTN, your biggest money don't make it into metros. You make it from those people into the township, into the rural. DSTV, you even see here's a shack, but then you see a DSTV, plug it in the tree. So then how do you start now not to ignore them and give back into those?
When we talk about developing the community, can you give us one or two projects that you did where you developed a particular community?
Okay. Usually, what we do in terms, hey, there are many. I'm trying to find like which one that we can point it out and say that this is. Sorry for that. Okay, while I was at home back in during COVID, so one thing that we found is like kids, they don't in the township, as I said specifically. For me, I come here in the urban. There's a school there. There is DUT. There is a school called Sastri here. Anytime you can call them, come learn robotics, come build Arduino kits, start to build the robot, and so. But then if you go into township, they don't even know what's for industrial revolution, what is robotics, what is how do you build, how to code. And then one project that we did back in 2020, like we call it Garage Club, where we were introducing kids into Arduino, into coding and building robots or capabilities or automation using Arduino kits. So that was one project that we did. Then the second project that we do, it was back. That one I'm still proud of it because it's the one that should Varsity Genie. So NSFAS before it used to have an actual form that you apply, but then they shifted radically in terms of saying to say everyone now should go and apply online. So it was a very difficult. These people they can't use digital cell phones, they can't have access to the thing, and radically just tell them go and apply online. And the form, the only time you will get form, they say you will get it into NYDA offices. The reality, do you see NYDA offices into the township? None. The NYDA is based into the metros. So all these they are based in metros. Deep, so that kids have to travel to go to the thing. So what we did is we had to fight. We had to go to NSFAS and look to say, please give us the form so that we can go into this township and register this student to apply. Then we'll take their forms and deliver to you. So then other who are close by, because sometimes the forms are limited, we ask we ask the university to borrow us a lab on Saturday and Sunday to bring these kids and to come and apply for NSFAS. So those were the two programs where now we uplift. And some have been graduating. I'll tell you like now, because when we started, I did it out of passion, not as something that is structure, as in it was just the spirit of say this Varsity Genie. Your spirit is to uplift communities. It was not registered, it was not even till to now, but I'll tell you the way we structured it now. So those are the two, introducing robotics and the other one helping at a township to apply, township kids to apply for NSFAS.
Okay. Yeah, we've sort of like have lived a parallel life. My experience was that you'd find that a child can use a cell phone and they can go
Yes.
into Facebook. But once you say to them use forms or to use applications,
True, so true.
it becomes very difficult. How did you overcome that? Because it's just even making somebody move from a cell phone to a laptop to move a mouse, there would be challenges. So how did you manage that?
Okay, so that's why I say like we got students who volunteered to do NSFAS. We usually did it here at duty. We invited the student from their township, close by township, to come to duty to apply. So then we look students who want to volunteer. As I said, the two things is we want you to do your leadership skills. And then from leadership skill, then on Saturday, students usually used to come and help those students open a computer, come up. So we will give them requirements, come with your ID, all those things. Then when they arrive, we will help them to scan. So it was usually controlled easily because you had students who are now third year, second year, who know how to use and the IT. So it was much easier. It was not them doing. There was someone who was there helping them to apply. So they didn't have to navigate through.
Okay. Now, what happens to them after you help them to apply for an NSFAS? Do they suddenly get an interest in IT, or did you see any changes within them?
So when I started, I was not even focusing. It was IT. It was like, okay, this is a problem that exists. I didn't look the factor of them being excited with IT. It was an agent matter of we don't want them to be excluded. Because here it is. Luckily for me, at least my father had some funds to pay for me. But I was not even aware there's something called NSFAS. Usually what you'll do, we grow up into a community where every day they complain about the government this, government that, government this. Then in my mind, anything that was touching government is not something guaranteed. So even NSFAS for me, it was not something that, because it touched government, it's a government fund. Hey, government, all I've been hearing is government this, government that, they don't live. So in my mind, it will going to be a waste of time. This NSFAS thing, if I apply, it's just waste of time. So for me, was this critical period of saying, you done your thing, then now how do I help you get funds? Because if you miss that opportunity of you getting free funds or that at that time, so it means now you will have this gap here where many things can happen. If you are a female, chances that you will get pregnant. If you are a guy, then chances that you will end up working at this low skilled work, and it will be difficult to go back and study because now at home they expect you to bring money. And then there were those challenges. So for me was, let's help as much as we can to apply for NSFAS so next day they can go to school. It was not the factor of them teaching them to use computer. It was not. That's why we even had to bring people who can help them to type and enter here and there.
Okay. I fully understand. But now with the robotics, when you brought robotics to Bart,
yes.
What was your first experience, or besides it being such it seems like an out of reach type of thing, especially for townships and villages. So, yeah, how did you overcome that one specifically?
Okay,
and what
here's the thing. Here's the other thing. It's very fascinating. Sometimes how can I say it? Kids have the very soft mind to adapt things faster. And you find that that's the other thing that keeps me pushing into doing things that I do. You will get there and you find these kids. He's so advanced in his mind, knowing these things, but he doesn't touch. So the cohort of kids that we have, they're already aware of what is AI, what is this. But the gap was now they haven't experienced touched it. They know coding, you can do this. They know Facebook. They know all these things. But the missing gap with that cohort that I had was now actually giving them a tool to actually see or experience that. If I say robotic sensors, they know sensors, but they haven't seen a sensor, touch it, connect it, and see it working. So it was not with that cohort. What opened my mind was it was not a matter of operating a computer, but giving them an opportunity to whatever that they always see on TV or on internet, now to actually experience it. So it was more of an exposure than them teaching them because they were already quite advanced. Because what I did, I looked from is a very lovely lady, Lekhavi. So she already ran a program where she has computers. She already exposed these kids to computers. Then it was just me coming to say, okay, how now do I extend by bringing this coding and robotics? So
Okay.
I didn't experience much hassles of teaching them basic computers. I just took them to say, here's the drone, because I remember the small drone. Here's the drone, this is how you operate. Here are the sensors, this is how you combine them.
And an unfair question.
Yes.
Did you have young female learners, and were they, because yeah, we have very few women coming up into STEM in general. So were there
Yes.
any young women generally where you were, or young girls that were there and interested in coding and robotics?
Mhm. Whew, that's a burning question. So that one, it was very, that's why this year, focus, I told my team to say, the focus is about women and women empowerment, strictly into IT. Because for the past 4 years, the 5, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, it's the 5th year now Varsity Genie existing. When we host this IT events, we will have 50 people attending, only 2 are females, you know. And it has been happening consistently. It's been happening like that. Even if we say this is only for females, you will end up half of guys there coming, even if you strictly. So it's been a very challenge. Even there, most were the guys who were there. Out of like maybe 6 kids that were there, one was a female. So it's a very, very difficult issue that we are navigating through. Even today, we're trying to look some corporate just to bring that hyper, just to bring that. Because the other thing, I'm a guy, and then I don't know maybe what language that I need to use to attract more female. But we're trying even to bring the programs that we did to bring even corporate, at least to bring some resources that will bring hyper.
Mm.
So that the female part or women, like it's a real issue, even on the ground. Because sometimes you look at the work to say like, okay, we'll we will look more women for this position, but you will end up seeing more guys applying for that position compared
Mm.
to ladies applied for it. Because even the foundation has been wrong. Like as I say, we do an AI, we do the hackathon, we do only guys will find them there into the hackathon. And those guys through there, they build network, they build mentorship, they get coaches, they get sponsors, people who can go there and say, okay, you, I know you're good, I can recommend you at my workplace. If
Mm.
ladies are there, they won't have to get that opportunity to do so. That has been a challenge. But as I say, we have given it a very special attention. Maybe even on my Facebook, you have saw that I try even to drive more ladies, and I found 2 passionate ones who are driving it successful. But they experience one same issue. I said, okay, go and look for females. There is a program that you can for Power Platform on Saturday. They
Mhm.
came with only guys. So even when I sent them to go and then they came with only guys, then I thought, what is wrong? I said we couldn't find them.
It's unfortunate, because I think it's a global phenomenon that we all need to actually start looking at and saying, why do we not have young females interested in STEM?
Mm.
Why are we losing so many young women into, other streams instead of
Mm.
STEM?
Mm.
Because it's unfortunate, it's an unfortunate thing that happens to us, and that we get
Mm.
lost by the wayside, along the
True.
way. And it's something we need as a country actually to really, really focus on, and not just have it as
True.
a superficial thing, but as a proper program that is focused
Mm.
on young women.
Mm.
You mentioned that Varsity Genie has been in existence for 5 years. So
Mm.
in those 5 years, have you had cohorts for every single year, or how many cohorts have you had?
Okay, so it's been a, how can I say? As I said, like when I started this like a spirit of saying we want to bring the spirit of like leadership, learning new technologies, uplifting communities. So I didn't even think of any structure around it. All I did, the guy comes to say, okay, next week we are going to Batuba. We are going to this school. Who
Mm.
want to join? Go. So it hasn't been when I was looking at it because all I was just how do I just start to have this spirit? Then I go, okay, I go to the university. Oh, next week I'm hosting an event. Can you give me the lab? And then we just advertise, people come. So
Mhm.
it was not just it hasn't been thought as a structure, but it was just like to say, how do we create a spirit where it's something where we bring that vibe where students or young people can come and practice leadership. So I didn't view it as selection program where one come. You want
Mhm.
leadership, go and let's go. So 2017, 18, 19, then it has been that way. Then 20, because again, I was on the ground learning the strategic part into, okay, how does thing work? Should I say the NGO is so the other thing that has been happening. I never looked at it as a cohort. It was like any platform where if you want to practice leadership, come and practice it. But then now, along the way, now you start to get recognized. You start to get awards. Now people start to ask questions. What is this? Is it NGO? Is it what? What someone want to fund it? Then now, but then I said, okay, I didn't want to limit into this is a selection of like anyone who want to practice, who's willing to practice, come and practice. Then university saw it as a very important, like what, as an important tool or platform for students because along the way we started to produce a lot of students. Like one, maybe you saw Someleze Diko now is working for Microsoft. There is one lab who is working for Cloud and Town in the UK. There's a student who went to the US. So like you started to see them now producing these students who are top, and university started to look into what's happening there. And then I started to receive awards for the work that I do. Then strategically, I look at okay, it won't be, how can I say? I won't register as an entity, I won't register as a what. I'll just focus, okay. One way that again, what I found was students, some has already run their program, has already going out there, but they don't have a voice, access, or knowledge into okay, how do you involve the university to get resources? Then this year, strategically, I started to pull myself off from running operations. Then I brought Sanelo, who's now the president, who's driving it. For me now, it's a matter of overseeing and coming up with a strategy. Then it's now when I start to build. It's this year now when I start to look into what the structure that I built. But the way now we will program, it will be like an advisory kind of program that advise the university how to run. How do we help them to say if a student come with an idea that uplift the community? Because they go there during holidays, student they go into that. But then how do you make sure that universities recognize it? Because that student go and tell about DUT. He sparkled the interest. This now the learner from matric he come to DUT. Why? Because Sanelo on Bali went to school there during the holidays. Then how do we make such things to be recognized? So if now you want to go, you need transport, the university can help you with that transport. You see staff again, they want to mentor, but they don't have a channel into now how do we mentor these young people in a way that is structured. So then now I started to look into, okay, now the role that will strategically fit is the role of now playing as an advisory role that help the university to set this program that help the staff and students to practice leadership, to go out there and be able to help the communities. So that's the role now that's kind of like in play. We never looked it into cohort to bring this cohort. Yes, some you might see as leadership, but is those who will help in terms of us advocating and us helping students who already have programs. Those who want to volunteer, how do we match you with a right program that is fitting your passion?
Mhm. That is actually very wonderful because I think
Yeah.
most of the time, especially as students exit,
Yes.
a varsity, there's that sometimes that gap,
Mm.
where when you get into the workplace and you're not even sure what is expected of you. Yes, you have the skill, but sometimes there's that, that gap.
Mm.
And is it possible for it to be something that is available to all students across the country or exiting students across the country?
No, no, it's possible. As I say now, once we play an advisory body, it's much easier because I can go to MUT and say, MUT, this is the thing that you need to do for you to be able to have this. Because they already have everything. It's just a
Mm,
matter of structuring very well, helping the universities to run it effectively. Because now we started to develop a model, it's been working, we've been testing, and we see some results. Then now it's a matter of taking the same model and going into universities. And sometimes one thing that you found, being here like almost 10 years into the higher education space, I have an opportunity now to understand from a lecturer to HOD to dean to deputy vice chancellor to vice chancellor. And those levels, I have an opportunity to work at all across those levels and understanding to say like, at which level around that, where now this need to sit. Faculty is quite easy because it's attached to the operation of the thing. Because sometimes you might talk with a deputy vice chancellor or vice chancellor and you love it. And if
mm,
it's sitting there, it's going to be difficult to operationalize it. So through that, what we sort of say, okay, the best way that we can do is this thing are already existing. Instead of replicating or duplicating doing programs, it's a better of supporting programs that are already existing and making sure that at least the management become aware of those because they have budget, but they don't know like now how you can effectively spend those budgets. So in terms of taking to other universities, it will be much easier because as we say, we're already doing them. Community engagement now, it's one of them, something that will be used to measure that this is a university or a college because you are aware that there was this rule or policy that they want to implement at the higher education where they check that the universities are they deserving to be called university or college. And one of the things is research and community engagement. So community engagement is a very critical thing that university push, but they don't have a proper structure to push it. And that's where we see Varsity Genie will strategically fit into helping university to roll it in a structured way.
yes. I love the fact that you are mentioning the community, so I mean activism in a way
Yes.
that we sometimes forget that is part of the outputs of going to university, that is
Mm.
supposed you're supposed to be able to fit into a community and make a difference. And
Yes.
if I may just maybe talk about something that we did not even mention initially, that
Mm.
I'm having MICC 4 IR lab at DUT, and then
Mm.
with Varsity Genie. How do they
Mm.
come together? Do they come together? And the
Yes.
impact they have out there in the communities.
Mm. Okay, so there it fits. So I'm trying to find the best possible way. So, okay, universities, you have staff who will organize, you have researchers who will organize this wonderful lab. But at the end of the day, you still need students to produce things out of what you're doing. So then now that's why I say like strategical in terms of operation, staff, the way they discipline, they get disciplined academically. Say this teaching, Then you have researchers who are teach to run research. But then now, out of that again, university get demand to say like, hey, we don't want to only produce the job seekers. Go there and look for job seekers and do what. Then now, one demand is okay. Produce. We want you to produce skilled youth that can create jobs themselves. So that's one aspect to say. And for you to achieve that, you need programs that need to be run to produce those students or those skills that when students get out of this university, they have the skill for them to survive. Then that's where we come in to say, like, we've been running this for the longest time of like training students and seeing students succeeding. And then now this lab, it has these specialized tools that are needed in the modern economy. How do you start to feed these students these skills? We have been championing that into developing student skills. So then that's where now we strategically come into how do we help the university to develop, the Faculty of Accounting, to develop programs that give students first for them to learn Wixi. Wixi, instead of creating a website, we teach a Wixi. Come and learn Wixi. By the time you go out there, you can develop a website yourself, charge 4,000 and make money out of it. Then in terms of now skills, companies now, there's a new technology called, like one example, I'll make it example with Somelez. He's working for Microsoft, and the product that he's working on is called Microsoft Power Platform. That program or that product or that technology is not being taught in class. So that's why the come to say, like, on Saturday, there's a program that we're going to run where students, we selected them with a private sector to come and train students around that new technology. And for it to be successful, that's where now Varsity Genie, it helps to run such programs. How do we select students, get them, and make sure that we get facilitators like Somelez, and now he's a chair, he's a co-chair, I share with it. Then he's more focused on the Microsoft. Then he brought this program to DUT, and through this lab, that's how we will run. So you can see that university have this wonderful facility, but they might have lack of how they will execute them. That's why Varsity Genie it comes in.
I'm loving that, from the 4IR commission, you are actually already implementing so many of the from the 8 resolutions. I can actually see all 8 being implemented at DUT. Do you connect with the commission in any way and have these discussions? Because I can see how you're saying already, they said talking about a school of excellence or AI, school in South Africa, developing that, and you're already doing that somehow in DUT. Do you have these type of feedbacks with them?
The commission, that's where the problems start. The commission is the presidential office, because that's where it started. Then it go minister, from minister, then you have different entities. So that's where the challenge was say, like, you need someone. For us, I'm championing the higher education, understand the structure.
Yes.
Then, but in terms now, okay, let's say politically, government, then now, how now do you, because that's the thing, who will be operational from the MIC, who's specifically person who focus into checking those operations? It's a very complex in terms, we are meeting them, but then is it provincial that need to, even the regionally, mayor need to look into it, and provincially so, nationally so, those are the kind of things that it's sitting here, Durban. Do we have to go and report straight to the presidency? Because the commission was at the presidency, but did we start at the provincial level? Did you start it at the thing? So that's why now there's a very huge gap into now strategically to feed it. They have developed, but was the provincial and the regional and like the mayor office involved and established their commission that is aligned to the presidential thing. So those are the kind of conversation that still need to be done.
I'm happy with that, but also I'm worried that one of the things that was highlighted in the report when they handed in was that we need a strategy, and you're still talking about having that conversation, and it's been like 2 years since the report was done, and work is being done. Lots of work is being done. You are doing amazing work at DUT, but how do we then, highlight this work without actually making somebody feel that they're being undermined by anything? Because I believe that South Africa is at a point where it should have already published its AI strategy, like other countries, like your Dubai's, your North Korea, or even the States. It's a personal belief. But, what you're mentioning now, how can we overcome this easily?
So we're trying to do that. We have. I won't jump into the. We're still trying to look. We have now conversation with the provincial office, the
Okay.
premier's office. Then I think it will be best, because the one thing that they were telling us that is to have conversation at that level, because conversation that we have is not a conversation of we have to start. This thing are already happening, and here's the other thing: to buy or here's the surprising thing. I always tell these people to say, like, South Africa is a world class, and I saw it, because if a student with the facility that we have, why do you have to go to China to see it? We have a robot, they're still sleeping. We have a lot of advanced machines. We have 3D printings. You don't need to go to China to see it. We already have it. But then now the issue is now it's a matter of like how, as you saying, to say like conversation is a matter. This thing are already happening. How now the conversation is like come and see and support it and issue the thing. So it's not a conversation of like now we are about to start. This thing are already running. It's just a matter of conversation to say like how now do we bring them the report. And one thing it's I will come. It's a matter of having proper reporting tools, simple proper developing tools that when I log my activity, let's say the MICC because it opened various labs into that. It needs to come up with a tool of saying this is a one-page thing that every activity that you do, you're logging into this. So in that way, it can receive a real-time information. So the conversation is a matter to say like now, how do we better the reporting? Don't complicate it, but just make sure that there's a proper reporting. Yeah.
You know what? You've just introduced this part on developing basically I'd say the market for our robotics and our developments, especially in 4IR. For instance, in 2022, is it still necessary for us to still buy the sensors in China, while we could still be developing them here at home at a cheaper rate, without all the other things? Shouldn't we start now having this conversation to say that if you are going to do your 3D printing, for you to even get those tools, because you're going to print them, you can even develop all these things, why can't we have manufacturing capacity in South Africa?
It need a very, I'll tell you how China is quite doing it. You need to look at one industry, because at the moment South Africa it's more of a service compared to being as much as we manufacture, but in terms of the digital we are not manufacturing things. So you need to look into what industry that you will use to take out all these things. Like one example, US, you have things like your NASA. There is the spaceship industry. By default, the innovation that come out of that's where now they have to produce things and those things that they produce, the components, those are the components that you will get it. I just go there and look at the research to say like what are the medical and suits that they use for mining that came out of that spaceship industry. So China, there was one document that I watched to say like, okay, we want to be able to produce. Made in China, it used to be made in China as a duplication, but they said we want to change the strategy of say made in China as being able to compete with the US. So they started to do, we are going to start one industry which is, they said like where we produce our own motor automotive and then that are self-driving themselves. Then if you choose a car, there are a lot of industries that need to come there. Mechanical, electrical, and You just need to look a vision of saying, I want to establish this one industry that will bring everything. Because out of that, when you bring that industry, then universities need to start to change their course to support that industry. So the approach should be first, let's look one industry that will game change South Africa.
Okay.
Instead of trying us to develop it in our different things, just look one industry that will shape the entire thing.
Yeah, I love what you've just said about us actually having a competitive advantage on one industry and
Mhm.
building around our competitive advantage.
Mm,
Like,
mm,
if you're gonna have the most polished and most beautiful diamonds,
mm,
those diamonds are most likely going to come from Jerusalem.
mm,
South Africa used to be a leader in arms. I'm
mm.
not an advocate for arms and shooting and whatever, but
Yes.
it's an industry that we've always had competitive advantage on. Although
Mm,
we've lost this space over time to, also, to Israel, but it's a space where it developed even with, by chemical warfare, where we were
true.
way advanced. Maybe, as you're saying, it's time that we have a real conversation about this, and saying this is part of our, economic rebuilding or revigoration and everything. Maybe it's that time for that conversation.
True,
Um,
true, true.
I really love your suggestion. And it's a conversation we are going to have again, hopefully soon again,
Mm,
especially now when we bring in, more people that are in different sectors.
mm,
I believe there's a need for a bigger conversation.
mm.
As we wrap up, how does the future look, for SA, especially now with, the 4R labs and Varsity Genie, and what do you envision and what do you see happening?
Okay, South Africa, as I say, like South Africa, it's already a world class, and I think our problems they cloud us, and politically too much noise, and like South Africa, everything that you need here, and being able to travel the world, I can say like it has exposed me to a lot of things. Going in African countries, going to, like I remember I was in Thailand. You meet people in Chinese, they were so surprised to say like so wonderful things that I'm doing, and you go to Kenya and then you find that hey, they haven't been advanced into the thing. So the future, what I can say is, firstly, want to answer the game, to go back to whatever that is there. Just choose one industry and let's not politicize it. I don't know how, but we just need to not politicize. And to say, like, why do you spend billions in this industry while someone is hungry? If we can want to create our own rocket to send person to a Mars, and we will need like 50 billion rand to build that industry. Hey, it will be an issue, you know.
Mm,
And so it's things like that to say, like, now, okay, firstly, we are already a world class. We can compete with the US, we can compete with China. That's the thing.
mm,
And then one thing is like, let's establish one industry that we will not even politicize it, that will shape everything. Because the future is bright, as I say. We have access, 90% of our people have access to electricity. Education now it's free. And so for us to say, like, I see South Africa as competing, producing whatever China is producing, US, whatever is producing. And we need to be aware that we need to celebrate that. It's very even rare for a South African to say, I'm leaving to go to another country. As much as
mm,
you hear small noise, so the future, as I say, like we are having capabilities, resources, research to COVID, like we were finding COVID here, different vision of COVID because of our science capabilities. And so, as I said, the future is bright for South Africa. It's just a matter of realizing that the future is bright. We can
mm.
compete with China. We can set the tone. We are the leading country. We are developed. So for me, it's very difficult to say to predict we see South Africa. By default, it's already there. It's just a matter of waking up and seeing that we have the capabilities. Like I say, all the people that I mentioned tell you, when you learn here, you learn you need to have a passport. I tell them you need to have a passport because you will travel the world. And I've proven many times to say like when I produce here, you are going to compete at the global level. Someone, he's now working for Microsoft UK. There is label. He applied that job, Road UK.
Mm.
So it's just short to say, like, we have capabilities, we have resources, we have everything to compete at a global level. The future is a matter of us waking up out of our potential and use that potential to be able to reach the level that we want to reach.
Oh. Thank you very much. You have just you've reinvigorated, something. I would say a belief in South Africa that we do have that potential, and it's about time, as you said, that we wake up to it and
Mm.
actually utilize that potential. Thank you
Mm.
so much, Fanie. We are going to have another conversation very soon.
No, no, no,
We
definitely.
definitely need to, especially now, also that we're on Heritage Month. How do we digitize our heritage and
Mm.
ensure that it is tangible and
Mm.
alive in a digital space?
Mm.
Going forward. But thank you
Mm.
very much for this conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. See you next time.